Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Talk, and today is such a special day because I have supermodel Coco Rocha joining me, and we're going to talk about Nomad Management and the passion that she opened this agency. It's so important to talk about this month because this is Asia Pacific Heritage Month, and I'm so happy and proud to have this week's collaboration with Nomad. Having models from Korea, from Taiwan, from all around the world, from all around Asia, to represent where they're from and how they have worked in the Western Hemisphere, and because of Nomad's support. So Coco, welcome. Thank you for joining me from New York.
Thank you for having me.
Wow, what a special, special month for us to talk about Nomad, because the contribution that Nomad has done for so many young models out there that who wish to venture outside of the region from Asia to the Western side of the world has a lot to do that you guys paving the path. Well, before we get there, let's talk about a little bit of your journey. How did you get started in modeling?
Well, it was already 17 years ago. I was scouted at a dance competition in Canada. And from there, I actually met one of the team members from Nomad, but at the time he was working at, I believe, Supreme, Roman Young, and he scouted me from a modeling convention and said, come on out to New York and let's see if things work out for you. It didn't, but Roman still had faith in me, and he actually sent me first to Taipei. And I lived, I know.
I didn't know that. That's my
You
home.
didn't know that?
That's how I grew up.
This is where it all started from.
I knew we were connected. Well, you know, I was a dancer when I was younger. I worked with Disney. I was a dancer when I was younger.
See,
and so, listen,
one
we're
big
so
circle.
connected. Full circle.
So I lived in Taipei at age, I believe it was 14, 15 for 2 months, returned to Canada, and then I was sent to Singapore for 2 months.
Two places I call home. How wonderful is that? Taiwan, we're going to talk about how amazing the food is in Taiwan. And the people are the gentlest and nicest people in Taiwan.
You know what? That's where everything kind of, I grew from Taiwan. Singapore was good. I mean, like, I had a blast there, but Taiwan, I learned my way of modeling, posing. I was educated in all ways of like structure of business and like showing up on time, all of it. So coming then from this sort of culture and then going back to New York, when a girl would complain like, oh, you know, today's so hard, I was like, listen, I went through boot camp. They showed me how like you work. So I always look back at those times being like super grateful, because again, the way I pose, no joke, comes from Taipei. It was like all the catalog work that I would do all day long. It was definitely a hard work, but it was amazing to learn how to be so professional so early on in my career.
Well, as we know, in different regions, models and photographers work different ways. And in Asia, they definitely want to maximize their dollars and time with the models. And that's the kindest way I can put it. 15 to 20 minutes of eating time. When you're done eating, you're on set.
You
and
are back on.
We have dressers in Asia, so you don't even put clothes on sometimes. You just stand there with your hands up, and the clothes comes right on you. And if they want to shoot fast, they don't even bother to take the clothes off you. A scissor goes zoop to the back of the sample, rips it right off. It's like a magic show.
I remember trying to button like myself, and this like young girl was like smacking my hands, being like, my job, my job. And I was like, yes, this is your job. However, I feel like I can do it as fast as you.
It's funny because in Asia, especially during fashion shows, we have aunties. Actually, one person lined up with one model, and they get them ready. They dress them. They take care of them from the moment they arrive to the moment they go. It's such a different culture and different way of working. And it's about efficiency. And thank you for giving a credit to Taiwan, but I really think it's because you are a dancer by training, and the discipline to be a dancer is such a unique quality. You know, sit up straight, always poised. And once you learn that attitude, you take it everywhere you go. And in modeling, and we see that in your work. We see the flexibility and the dedication come through even your teaching, how you work with other models. I mean, it's incredible, the foundation that you needed to get through Asia, and then you're back to New York. What happened then?
Well, once I came back from Singapore, I finally was able to have the right visas to come live and work in New York. And Roman still believed in me and sent me to a casting for, you know, this little known photographer named Stephen Meisel. And Stephen decided to, he liked the images he saw from Singapore. and he liked the way I worked from Taipei. And so he actually put me in exclusive for 6 months to just work with him. So he became literally part of the management team and deciding what shows I would do, what campaigns, what editorials, which at the time I knew nothing, because again, I am a dancer by background. Modeling, fashion, it was not something in the cards. So I just was like, okay, this man seems to know what he's talking about. And sure enough, everyone, because Stephen kind of like gave me this dub of approval, that then the rest of the world kind of was like, okay, we will accept this newcomer. So wow. I heard Suju a little bit from her chat with you and saying that she went to all the agencies early on, no one wanted her. It happens to so many girls. So for me, it wasn't agencies. It was just, I remember so many castings and no one wanted to see me the first time around. Second time around, it was like, oh, hey, we've never met. Like, we've met. But thank you.
Well, it's interesting because your aesthetic and beauty, I remember back then, maybe 17 years ago, we have this such incredible similar parallel path because I started shooting 17 years ago.
Wow.
And there's a story I will share with you that you'll be very surprised. I've been watching you from day one. And I too admire Stephen so much because for those of you guys who don't know Stephen Manzat, he makes and breaks career for models and he's contract with Vogue and all the amazing work he's done with Supermodel over the years. When I found out through different agents talking, that was who Stephen loves. Because when Stephen loves a model, we young photographer want to shoot them too. And we just wait in line, wait till the day that they're available. And Stephen has the ability to lock your schedule in that you can't work with anyone else, which you call that exclusivity. I call that selfish. But but what happened was that when you begin to start shooting with Stephen, and Stephen was in love with shooting in Los Angeles at that time, and he was shot at Smashbox Studio, Stage 2, and there's a parking lot. He would literally build sets in that parking lot. And I remember every story you ever shot there. Do you know why?
No.
I was in a one-way mirror in the parking lot watching every shoot you ever done in that parking lot.
Stop it. So you saw all my parking lot photo shoots?
So that parking lot, if anybody ever shoots at Smashbox, and I'm giving secrets away now, they no longer allow people to go there. I just started out, so I would go to the studio and hang out with the bookers and just really developing relationships so I can use the studio for cheaper, you know? and they would say, hey, did you know Steven's going to be here today? And through the crack of the door, and I can see stuff being set up. And I'm like, can I just hang out here? I'll help you file. I'll help you clean your table. I'm like this, right? Looking at the table. And there you are. And I remember you were described as like this little bird, where like a bird with the pointing features, but with elegance of movement, and you move. You don't stop moving. And I watch and I go, wow, that's so fascinating because you actually are dancing and Steven's capturing these moments that he normally doesn't do. And then I understood why you got exclusivity, because Stephen has a way he shoots, very quiet, and he finds those beautiful, amazing moments. What you gave him was something that I believe he didn't expect to have, because you moved, you just gave and gave. So I was there, I was fanning, and I was spying on you the entire time.
Wow, that is quite a story and amazing at the same time. But yes, you're right. That parking lot, literally so many of his shoots, he was like, all right, let's go out to the parking lot. It's time for an outside shot. There's
a picture of you in that parking lot. In the background, you'll see a blonde hair woman walking with a little, like a slip-on shoes. And that was my assistant, my stylist. That was my stylist who wanted to take a peek what's going on at the studio.
That's amazing. So she made it
go around.
Yes.
I said, just go walk around back and forth, like you're looking for a dress. Maybe you'll be in the picture. And when it came out, we all went, yes!
That's so good. I love that story.
So people don't know this. The first time I ever told people, but I did spy at Steven's shoot quite a bit and watch. And I know I met you guys through a glass window. And it's so nice to be able to finally break into the industry of my own way. And
well, you definitely broke into it. You're here to stay.
I'm here to stay. Well, you know, it's interesting because when you started Nomad, you really embraced the Asian culture. And to me, I watch it from afar. We don't have a lot of working relationship together because you excel so fast, I couldn't even catch you. By the time I think I was able to book you, you were moved on to developing TVs. You were hosting. I remember a couple of times in Los Angeles, your agent would say, she's available for about 15 minutes. You want to see her? I go, this see her for 15 minutes. I want to shoot her all day. It doesn't work like that.
That's hilarious.
But you were in that world, and as all these years have passed, you became supermodel. You have been deemed the first model to actually reach 1 million followers on Instagram. You embraced that. What was going through your journey to adopt all these new things and open a business for other models?
Yeah, it definitely goes way back to a point where Anna Wintour, the editor of American Vogue, had asked me to speak on behalf of all models on the topic of really how models were treated during New York Fashion Week. So I spoke to CFDA and the panel there. And pretty much after that point, I just kept talking. So she gave me this kind of like, okay, this subject, this blessing. And I felt quite comfortable then discussing different subjects of, you know, fair treatment, underage models, health, anything, color of our skin to our body types, our body issues. So from that point, I kept talking. Then this little thing called social media appeared. At the time, I had an account on MySpace and Facebook.
We're dating ourselves really quick because I'm right there with you.
And I realized that there was a platform to use, that I could actually have a bigger voice. Really, all of it also comes from my, at the time, friend, but my husband. He was just a really good friend. I was like, you know what, you need to use social media. There's like this new thing. I bet you, as a model who doesn't have a voice for the rest of the world to hear, it would be useful to me and for the public to see. But of course, it was definitely a backlash from the industry. And
I remember that.
There was a support from the world via social media. So there was many in the industry were just like, oh, that's so cool. I don't know what you're doing, but that's great. And then a lot being like, you're supposed to be untouchable, unattainable. So what are you doing? You're messing this up. If you continue, I will never work with you. And there were many characters and people that decided too much, so we're getting rid of her. But now everyone and their dog and their cat and everybody is on Instagram. So it's totally fine because those characters are willing to work with me now. However, it was scary because you're thinking, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just and I'm not even saying anything nasty. I'm just talking about from like what I'm watching and eating to, the serious parts of our industry. So from there, I really started to use my voice and decided to start changing laws and telling people, you know, what we really need to be changing in this world, in this industry. And I realized that that was one way of doing it, but it wasn't the only right way of doing it. So I decided with Roman, Damon, and my husband, and a few other people saying, what could we do to change this up? So Damon, one of our agents, and of course, one of the owners of Nomad, already had Nomad as a management team, but we wanted to make it bigger. So we decided to all become co-owners and create what is today Nomad Management. And this was my way of saying, instead of telling people what to do, showing people what to do. So if it's including people from around the world, making sure that the model felt like the client wasn't the most important person, but a model was the most important person and treated respectfully. I wanted now people to see, hey, she's not just all talk. We can actually do it. So with our entire team.
You became an activist, and you became a doer, and you became an example of it. Because I remember during that time when you were very vocal about models starting too young, and they're very impressionable, and they're forced to stay skinny. And there was a lot of backlash of how young the models were hitting the runway in Paris. And during that time, I remember Haley Clausen just walked when she was 14, and everybody started banning her from shows. I remember all these things were happening, and you were talking about them. And the craziest stuff is that the fashion industry didn't come to your rescue immediately. They did not rally around you. You became an outcast, actually. I remember that all of a sudden you went from every Italian Vogue cover, everybody wanted you. You went silent for a little bit. And in this industry, when you go silent, you can go silent and go and disappear. Or you can do what Coco did. Just make louder noise so people can hear you. And I am so incredibly and just admire your tenacity to do that, because I realized that through these years of shooting too, there have been negativities of, oh, you shoot, I'm going to say it, you shoot fat girls. You shoot curvy girls, that means you're not a real photographer. You live in Los Angeles, you're not a real photographer. You didn't assist Stephen myself, therefore you'll never make it. We get a lot of those notes in our fashion industry, I would say back then, because now I do see a change. And the most amazing thing that's happening is because people like you who make modeling behavior, correction of the modeling behavior activism. You know, you make sure that there's a voice out there. And for those who want to hear, join in. You don't want to hear it, you don't agree with it, you don't have to give us backlash. You can just simply watch from the side. But now, it resoundingly, you prevail through this struggle. And through that, it brought so many models' career forward because of it. And that's
Thank you. I do
true.
appreciate that. I mean, it always just shocks me that people would, at the time when I was just saying like, hey, I'm not saying don't work with young models. I'm just saying when you do work with them, shouldn't there be laws? Because at the time, New York did not have any laws protecting models, underage models. It's like the wild, wild west. And for the industry pretty much saying, we do not want to take care of children, that was a shocker to me. And it was just so surprising, but people just didn't think of models as children. They just kind of think of them as the arts, as product
commodity.
Of the industry.
They were commodity for 8 hours, 10
exactly.
hours, whatever that.
And yet the whole world is saying, protect children, make sure that children are you know, taken care of. So then I knew that I was right. I know that what I was saying was good. So we did change the law in 2013. It did happen. And it, like I said, again, there was so much backlash. We did have people trying to laws back to what it was before. And sure enough, yes, people didn't want to work with me, and that was totally fine. But I was so proud of myself on what we had done. We protected people. We corrected a little part of the industry. Do people still work with underage models? You bet. Do they do silly things? I'm sure they do. But there's less of it than there was when we started. And I am proud of that. And sure enough, now when I do walk into a room, it's like, there's Coco, oh, Coco, you know, remember when she, you know, like, yes. And I am proud of, if I scare you, good. And if you agree with me, awesome. If you don't, like you said, step out, it's fine. People now celebrate. I was just going to say,
go ahead.
People now, they celebrate whistleblowers. At that time, yes. There was no celebrating any of that. So even if I talked about the subject of sexual harassment on set, at the time, people were like, hush now, don't even talk about the characters, don't even speak, Coco, because you'll ruin your career. And I felt threatened. I felt scared, thinking, yeah, if I do say something, I'm out. And so many models from my generation that did speak out on the subject of sexual harassment were gone. I somehow kept going through with it. And now, you know, 2018 and the Me Too movement, and people are like, aren't you so excited, Coco? And I'm like, yes and no, because I'm annoyed that you are now all, the community of fashion decided to rally around the world and say, yes, we need to change this. When there was young girls saying to you, please change this, to some of the top people in the industry.
The hashtag movement forcing the hands of
exactly.
the people who are in power. They never will going to make those changes on their own. And we know that. Now, behaviors on set, there's a whole different talk about that. But it is something that we see that's not just happening in the US. I mean, in Asia especially, the models are, to use the word, they're abused in the way of their commodity, their well-being. It doesn't matter. They're paying you per hour, you work and you're done, you're done. And then you come back next day. If you're healthy, we'll work with you again. And the education what you put in to the young models that you're beginning to represent and building Nomad around the world, not just US, is that you begin to help to feed that education to different sectors of Asia as well. And I know that because I know your name is so loud and resilient in Singapore. When I work in Singapore, you're a mega star in Asia, and they love you for it. And for multiple different reasons. Some people say, well, Coco's the one that caused that trouble. And then the one goes, you know what? Coco made that trouble for us to be better. And we all are trying to be better, whether through the Me Too movement, whether through your activism. And we should speak up more because it's not affecting you know, for young women, but young men as well in our industry that doesn't get addressed. And along the way, you create a Nomad, and you have this incredible constitution set in for young women, empowerment for young models. And how was it like for you to hear some of these stories now when I talk to them, like Shuju's, and these women says, if it wasn't for Nomad, I wouldn't be in the US, or I would not be in Europe working.
Well, I can't take all the credit at all because I have such strong partners. Damon and Roman, like I said, they sent me earlier in my career, before we even ever thought we were going to create something together, to Asia. And I know that they have always respected working with models from Asia and also from America or North America to be sent off there, because it definitely benefits each. My amazing agent, Mickey, who has been with me from the absolute beginning, who takes care of Suju, they have all understood that, you know, models from around, there are models from around the world. You just got to find them. And they do well in Asia market because, one, Damon used to be a model and worked in Asia, and also had such a great community there, and was like, there's so many great talented people here that need to come over to America. So really him and the team led the idea that, and it sounds like it's such an epiphany, like, no way, Asian models in America, but it was, because when I started modeling, it was, you'd see like one Asian model on the runway, and you'd see one Black model on the runway, and everyone's kind of clapping like, isn't that good? Aren't we doing a good job? Now
check
I'm
mark.
watching,
We have a checkbox. We check mark.
We did it.
That's it.
But now I literally watched 2 seasons ago, I watched an entire show of just Asian models. And I've watched, it's done a full 180, which is very exciting to see.
Well, you know, one thing that I don't know you're aware, by bringing Asian models to the Western culture, you also bring an awareness of designers from the East to the West, because all the business follows each other. As you were building Nomad, you have the Jason Wu's and Alexander Wang start to rise. You have the Philip Lam start working in the business, who are saying, oh, wait, we can go to Nomad, we can actually get Asian models. And that is the pure truth, because I had, every time I begin to cast models, if I want Asian models, if I call LA agency back then, I'm not gonna mention names, they're like, we have 2.
Yeah.
Just 2. There's no casting, you get 2. And that's it. And I'm like, how can that be? Do you know how many population of Asian people in this world? You only have 2. And it was underrepresented. And it was because the industry did not have designers in Asia being recognized in an international platform. It did require the Jason Wu dressing Michelle Obama and having that voice, and all of a sudden he supports Asian models and puts them on the runway, and Alexandra Wang doing the same. Those things combined with a Nomad's DNA, it really helps culminate this amazing success now that we can see a wave of Asian models starting hitting their runways and pages, and especially male models. In the Asian culture, as I'm sure you know, as you're scouting male models in Asia, it's much tougher because it's just not culturally a thing that you say, I want to be a model, you know?
It's true. It is far different for male models to enter this industry. And I'm so proud that our team is so well known now in Asia, and is well respected. People will immediately, when they say Nomad Management is interested in you or wants to work with you, it's like a done deal. People, and that is such an honor, and I'm so thankful for that. And just going back to the idea of like 2 models on a board that are Asian, it's just so crazy to me. I know I'm a thin white model, but I don't think that there's only, you know, like 2 versions of me. I think there's definitely a variety of some white girl out there, right? So it's just the same, like, it's such a odd way of thinking to me. And it is amazing when I've done, you and I, when we did TV shows in Asia, when the talent comes out, you're like, wow, she's so different from the other and amazing. And look at her haircut and her face, her structure, whatever. And you wonder, like, why back home is there just people going like, well, I only need 2 versions of that, because this just doesn't make any sense to me.
What's really nice is that to see that you are not categorizing what Asian models, typical Asian models, what Westerners think. You know, I'm
Yes.
talking to Easy Tomorrow, who's very much androgyny of a model who walked the men's fashion show, opened and closed women's fashion show the same week. And she is not a typical, as you would say, a beauty face. But her strength comes with her character, who she is. I can't wait for you guys to meet her tomorrow. We'll talk to her. And I have Shuju, who's on an older generation. She came into modeling at such an older age, where when I say old, I'm talking about 24. It's crazy. But you know, and I know, if you're 24, walk into an agency, ask to be signed, they're like, your tooth is already too long. It's not. Still this day, everybody wants to look for the young model so they can build and mold. But the fact is, the industry have changed so much. Each one of these girls and women, men, all alike, have the voice, and they're resoundingly loud on Instagram. You actually don't get an opportunity to mold a lot of these girls or men anymore. You have to take what you get and build on top of it. And I think that's what you've done with Easy, and pairing Easy with the Lions, who I love, that they together, you guys have marrying this mega runway star. And I just had a little conversation with her today for our pre-talk, and she's still in awe and in shock of her position where she's at. And that has so much to do with the fact that she said to me, and she'll talk more about it tomorrow, that Nomad is my mother. And she paused because her English is not so great. Then she says agency. And I said to her, I said, you can pause right there and just stop right there. It is okay, because in fact, that's what Nomad is, right? You guys are the mother hen to so many of these young chicks that need to grow their wings stronger and fly. So I want you to share that with you, because it to me, I don't think, especially during this time that we're going through, there's not enough gratitude enough. There's never enough gratitude, enough thank you that we should say to people. And when I told people that this week is Asia Pacific Heritage Week and I want to have Coco on, and a lot of people scratch their head going, wait, why is that white girl in a pack?
That makes no sense.
You know? And my designer, my graphic designer, sets up all the graphics. He says, did you give me the wrong person's picture? And I said,
Coco.
No. In fact, I love that reaction, because it's an opportunity for you, for me, to be able to share what you have gone through, your journey through Asia, and you're able to take that lesson and give it to the new generations of people. And thank God you are one of those people who practice what you preach. You know, it's
We try.
You do, and for your example, perfect example is the 1,000 Poses, the study of pose, your book. And you would think, here's a model just gonna do a bunch of pictures and put a book together. But guys, if you ever see Coco work, I think there's like millions of poses, and it comes all within a minute and a half. So you better shoot fast as you can to capture them. But all those things that you're doing, and I honestly don't think that you're 100% aware of it. You're just being you and true core of who you are. And that itself then permeated through the people around you, and you champion without having to rah, you just do. And that's what's the most powerful. You know, and
I have to say that I can't take all credit for like even my success and how I work. It's just also my team has always been so understanding. Like the team at Nomad has been amazing my whole career. Working together, like from Mickey, who has taken care of me, literally has been my big brother my entire life, is my family. Damon and Roman, same thing. They are part of my family, but have always, even if I was wrong, would always take my side. And that, I think, in management is what models need. I can make the mistake, let me fall, at least help me get back up, and don't make me feel horrible about my choices. Because every model deserves to have a different experience, and everyone should in life have different experiences of the path they want to take. And if you are good management, you will help them create their own paths. You don't make it for them. You just show them the ways. You tell them what you need, they should know, and they will take they will make the decision. So I have to say, all the girls and guys that we take care of, they have these people that really are putting them first and knowing they have their own opinions of how things should go, but we'll let them decide. I think that's great management. And so many agencies should have people like them. These guys were at different agencies, so I can say that, you know, they've learned from other places as well, but coming together to have this solid team, it's like, yes, finally, I feel like I'm at home and we're all together. And I hope that most of our models feel the same way. And I'm there to pretty much be the big sister that they can reach out and, hey, this doesn't feel right. I want to do this. I'm really having a hard time with whatever. But I really am proud of the likes of Suju and Easy. And I'm really honestly just there to be their cheerleader more than anything.
Well, you're a true validation, right? You're a true validation of what a successful model's career is like. You've done the impossible of having a voice and not be afraid what that voice would do. And you went through low, you went through high. You didn't stay on the high all the time, just looking down at people. I think what makes you somebody people look up to is that they know you yourself went through hardship. I know you had lots of no's. And I remember seeing your com card from Singapore when I first started. I was like, what's this white girl doing in Asia? It's so weird. And then by the time I figured it out, I'm like, whoa, can't touch her now. She's with Steven. So I can watch one window. That's all I get to do, watch one window. But that is, but it is leading by example. And I encourage other models who have the same ability. You know, there are amazing models out there that Cameron Russell, who gone through the hardship herself as a model, become a successful model, does the same thing. She preaches and she acts what she preaches, and she preaches what she acts. You know, and those are the things that I think we need more of as examples. Agents can only do so much. I know that people love to complain about agents, right? Photographer would complain about agents. Agents always an agent's fault. You're late, it's agent's fault.
Yeah.
You know, your skin's bad, it's agent's fault.
Yeah.
Never your own responsibility. But having a core group of people that you consider as mother agent and really help you and be there for you and be part of the community, I think we need that now more than ever, especially like you said, 2018 Me Too movement. A lot of corrections are still happening, and I don't think that correction has been completely corrected. In fact, I think a lot of people have forgotten about that correction, and then bad things will come full circle again. And I hope that you will be a constant reminder of people that it's not the normal. The new normal should be the one we respect and be kind. And I seen that on my own set, just so you know. I seen that on my own set. I corrected the way I work as well through this journey. And I think that's okay to admit. Yeah, you know, as a photographer, photography sits on my domain. If I felt like throwing a cup across the room, nobody back then would ever question it. In fact, they'll go and pick it up and bring it back to me. Throw it further, I'll go pick it up for you. But we were trained to be okay to behave that way. Now, we learned over the last few years that those are corrections that we need to make because models are to be respected. But you are way ahead of the game. You are way ahead of the leading of the pack and making sure that that foundation and constitution is built within your models. And I can tell you, just talking to the models that you guys represent, and Nomad represent in Asia as well as here, that they respect and understand the DNA of Nomad Management so much, and they have so much love for you guys. And that is so rare when what we want to do is complain about our agents all the time.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I mean, I know the whole team is watching right now, and I'm sure that makes them proud, especially during this time where we're all like sitting at home, pondering about life and whatever. But really, thank you, because that means a lot to all of us, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And what's great about Nomad, guys, is that not only that you open up doors and gateways for a lot of Asian models, you're now also expanding into complete diversity. They're African-American, they're white girls like you, and they're light-skinned, dark-skinned. And that's what I think is so great, is that once you have that core foundation and believe in the philosophy of your company, you begin to then permeate that information through other categories. And I think that is something that we desperately need throughout the industry.
For sure. I mean, I definitely think our first frontier was cultural diversity and being able to see different models on the runway, not just only in Nomad, but talking about just in general. And absolutely. You know, it's much better than 17 years ago, and we can do even better now. However, the next frontier was, of course, body size, and we are definitely proud. And you know, like you said, to be told that you won't be a great photographer because you're working with bodies that aren't the right shape, and now you're laughing it off. I'm hoping you're laughing it off, because like, it's such a silly thing. And I think our last frontier, well, not last, but the next is age. That drives me nuts when I do these model camps and these girls come in and they're like, I've been modeling sort of, you know, on and off, but now I'm 24. Should I continue? I'm like, continue. Like, I can't stand that you have to even have this conversation with yourself. 24, you just started life. Like, here we go. I'm in my skin. I know what I want. Not at 16, 50. You don't know what you want. So that drives me nuts that a model has to even contemplate, should I retire at this point? So I think of the likes of Mae Musk. She's 72. This woman has been modeling her entire life. If anyone doesn't know who that is, Elon Musk. That's his mom, and she's been modeling through his entire education, through his entire life, and their family. She wanted to do it, and that's what I always tell the girls and guys, if this is your passion, any passion you decide, continue doing it until you don't want to do it anymore. Not because you've been thrown out or told too old, too fat, not the right color of skin. That's not the reason you stop something, because we're all going to hear no all the time, whether it is your skin, your height, your age, your weight. In any industry, you're going to hear no. So get used to it and just keep going. So the next thing I would like to see more of is age. I mean, I would love to just see, I'm 32, and to the industry, I'm sure I'm like the old grandmama of grandmamas. Carmen De La Face, she's 88 years old and still models. And when I speak to women like her, I'm like mind blown when I just, their life stories, the things they've done. And yet what you're going to just tell them to off you go now, it's done. There are women of all age categories and men that are looking to see a woman their age on the covers of magazines, in editorials. So you can't, again, ignore social media and ignore people and say, well, that's not what's in, you know,
it's
in
not
style.
a trend. Age is not a trend.
We got to get rid of it. And I'm like,
that's right. Age is not a trend, right? Color of our skin is not a trend. It should not ever be considered as a trend. It's something that is our DNA. It's who we are. We're all progressing that way. But one thing, what you said that I love is that all these little different categories that you're breaking. But one thing that's so important to remember is that the word model and modeling has changed its definition over time. You yourself redefine them in a social media platform, become an activist in what you believe in. So if you chose to be a model who just wants to model clothing, that's a great decision, as well as a model with a voice who wants to talk about a passion he or she believes in. And I think that's something that now more than ever, model have a place in our, not just in a fashion society, but in society, period, because you become role models if you choose the path to be that. And then that, I think, it comes from foundation, from the foundation that you built. And I'm sure Nomad Management, I know Grace Chen, who is with you guys, I'm going to speaking to on Friday, she's a business owner. She makes organic oatmeals, and by the way, they're amazing, and I have them in my kitchen.
So good.
I love them. It's so good. And that's what I'm talking about, because you're representing her, not just as a model, you're representing her as an entity of a human being with passion, and you also help and champion her passion to completely be successful in that area. I think that is so important, because you yourself have ventured down so many different paths that's because of modeling gave you those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, models should be represented as three-dimensional women. You know, it only helps the entire team and the entire business if the model has other, you know, passions and interests. Yeah. Instead of being like, so what covers do you want to be on? That's great. And what editorials? The end. Well, you're not going to have a career that's going to be that long. So we love knowing, like, what is it that you are passionate about? I do remember sitting down with Mickey. I don't think he's going to hear this and be like, I don't even remember this conversation. But I remember sitting down at like age, I don't know, 16. And he was like, all right, tell me something you're passionate about. And I was like, I'm a dancer. And I just started this modeling thing. And I was like, puppies? And he was like, what? Puppies? I was like, I have no idea, sir. Like, I really don't, I didn't think that way yet. And then all of a sudden my calling was that meeting with Anna Wintour saying, I want you to speak. And I was like, okay, if you think I can do it, then I can do it. And I will go ahead and start trying. And then I just got passionate about that. So I don't like when people just are like, okay, I need to have other interests, and I need to focus on other stuff when it's not a passion of yours. But when you, like a Grace, she likes to cook, her photos of her oatmeal when she puts it all together. I'm like trying to be so cute when I put my oatmeal together. It's not that cute. But you just see when people are interested in what they do, it's going to work. It might have many fails, but it's going to work. And I don't want people to be just pretty faces. Like that's the stereotype that drives me nuts. I have girls that come to model camp, and I'm training these people saying like, here's your rights, here's your how to read contracts, here's how to speak to an agency, what's correct, what's not correct. And then for someone to then say to me, but how do I take a cute photo? I'm like, please don't fall into the stereotype of what the world thinks we are. Don't be a Zoolander, right? Like show the world that we are way more educated, way more smarter than just, is that a word? See, that doesn't feel right. That, you know, just more smart than what people think we are. And that frustrates me, especially like interviews like this. We'll have a huge discussion. And at the end, someone goes, can you show me your best pose? And I'm like, did you hear me before? Like, I get that I pose, but I don't take that that's not the serious part. That's the fun, silly part. But when we're actually educating people and then someone forgets everything I said and says, show me a great selfie, it drives me nuts. So I try to inform our models 100%, but also just inform the world that modeling, it can be silly looking, I understand, but it's also a serious job. So study a pose, I created that. It can be funny looking, it can look gimmicky, but it's also to show the world like, hey, there's an art form behind modeling. And if you actually take it seriously, you can actually be good at it, or just understand the body and its movement. And for illustrators, for photographers, I want models, all of them, to be muses. And I say that in model camp. I don't care if you want to be on the cover of any magazine, that's cool. But you should probably want, out of all things, is to be a muse. A muse is to inspire humans to create other art, poems, movies, dance, whatever, but photographers and designers as well. But to be a muse and to have people create something that could live on for hundreds of years, like think of a Leonardo da Vinci who had people that he painted that we still look at. That to me is amazing. That's incredible. So I want us to be the sort of thing where we are just make people want to be excited about life and they're inspired to do something. That's a model.
But that is so important, because that is the foundation of how you actually end up with a good selfie. It's actually the foundation how you end up getting a great picture with the photographer. Because as photographers, we always look for models that will give us that something extra, something that we don't do every single day. We're not shooting passport photos, right? We want to find something in you that's uniquely different when the model next to you. And having what you just said, models, if you guys are listening, please take note, is that having that quality of your own passion and your own things that inspires you, it'll bring through the camera, you'll bring through the lens, you'll penetrate through the space between the camera and you, and it will deliver to the photographer. And the photographer feels it, catches it, and that's when those moments in relationship really develop. I mean, you and Steven has that special relationship. Anna Winter, you have that special relationship. I had that relationship. I still have that relationship with Kate Upton. God knows, for so many years with Irina Shayk, that Russian girl didn't speak word of English and nobody wanted to photograph. I'm like, are you guys not seeing what I'm seeing? and you know what I mean? And that's okay, because there are going to be so many people don't see who you are right away. You just need to be diligent and you're passionate and be available. And truly, and not physically and just physically, but mentally be available to be there to do what you need to do responsibly in the modeling industry. I think that's what makes a successful model, because you became super successful because you took on a responsibility and you took that responsibility on fully and you followed through. If you were wishy-washy about your activism, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. No matter how great and how successful Nomad is, you wouldn't earn the respect of the industry, you know, and that to me is more important than the Italian Vogue cover, although I have every single one of yours. It's more important. It's true. I truly feel that and it has a lot to do with, as we get older, as we've been in this industry longer, we learn what truly is the most important thing. Once you have earned that super title, you know, supermodel title, the first 1 million followers on Instagram, you know, do something with it. And you did. And that we're grateful in our community. And we have to say
Oh.
thank you to that, you know?
I'll
really.
give you your paycheck for my cheerleading later. This has been like the best pep talk
But that's
of all time.
that's really that I started this talk for a pure reason to get a community to celebrate each other and to talk about what we love to do. And I don't care it's a blue eyeshadow that you love with a red lipstick when it's completely wrong, but if you're passionate about it, talk about it, share with someone. And I remember when I first started this in the very beginning, when I asked people to join, a lot of them scratched their head going, how many people want to watch? And it took me about a week to realize it doesn't matter how many people is going to watch. If you and I are connected and we're talking about something we're passionate about, somebody else there is going to be affected by it in a positive way, and that's all that matters. So millions of people, great. 0, fantastic. None of that matters other than continue to talk and share with everyone, because I truly believe that we have now, through this pandemic, learned that connection is more important than anything else in this world.
Oh, yeah.
You know, by taking away what we took for granted all the time. We took it for granted. You and I worked together on TV. You and I talked on the phone a few times, trying to do castings, and never had an opportunity to actually connect. And through this, we get to connect, and that's absolutely incredible blessing. And I will say this, I would love for the day that I would be able to photograph you. Together, I would love to create something from a dancer to a dancer, from a photographer to a model, and just literally saying thank you for a champion for the Asian community. Because without Asian models, there won't be Asian photographers. Without Asian photographers, there's no Asian designer. And without Asian designers, there's no Asian photographer, and vice versa. And what you've done is just paving the road for all the connectivity of inclusion. And I really, really am grateful for that.
Oh, well, thank you for all you are doing. Like you said, it's great to have a megaphone, but how are you using it? So you're using yours quite well, and I appreciate it. So thank you for giving us also sort of a spotlight. Every day you've been working with our team, a lot of our models, and I know that, you know, before you even were talking to so many other models. So I appreciate it, because some girls don't necessarily have they still have a voice, yes, social media, but they don't have a presence like you do. So you've definitely helped tremendously for definitely all of us. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, another thing is I want to thank you for being here today, because just by being here, Let's Talk has an initiative that we donate 500 masks to first responder just because you're here today as our guest on your behalf. And for those, any of you who wish to help and donate to the cause, you can go to Let's Talk. Let me get it again. You can go to lifeletstalk.com, and all the information's there that how you can donate, and you can see the donors that have already supported us. We're trying to reach 100,000 mask goal in a couple of weeks. We are 85,000 today. And we're super proud to be able to be part of the solution to this crazy time we're in. But in the meantime, you guys, this is Coco Rocha. What an amazing journey we got to learn from you. And I thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. And I can't wait to see you on the other side, and hopefully we get to shoot together.
And we will, and I can't wait to meet more of your baby chicklings as their fledglings grow into supermodels, and they have grown so much, and I'm so proud. I'm proud of them by actually gracious enough and smart enough and proud enough to say thank you to Nomad, and that to me is it's worth it, all of it, you know.
Thank you. Oh,
well, thank you, Coco.
All right.
Please stay safe out there, and
too.
take care of the girls out there and the boys as well. Don't forget the boys.
I know we always say girls, but they know that they're put in there.
They're part of our family.
Boys too.
Until we see each other again, everyone stay safe out there and stay strong. We'll all get through this. This all shall pass. In the meantime, be kind to each other. Thank you so much, Coco.
Bye-bye.
Well, thank you guys again for joining me on Let's Talk. Today's conversation with Coco was so enlightening. I loved being able to share the story how I have actually met her without her knowing, and the experience of learning from Stephen Manzal without him knowing. I'm probably going to get in trouble for telling that story. Until we meet each other again, guys, please stay safe out there and stay strong. And thank you again, Roman Young, for making this week possible. And thank you, Coco, for giving us your time and your generosity of your work in our industry. I'll see everybody soon. Stay strong. Stay safe out there, everyone. Bye-bye.